The Quran is divided into three themes, the scholars mention. The Quran contains stories of the people before us. The Quran contains parables and examples of light and dark and the earth and the sky. And the Quran contains rulings. When you put these three together, stories, parables, and rulings, you get the Quran, you get guidance. But what is the wisdom of the stories that Allah gives us in the Quran? The stories of the people before us. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in ayah number 90 in Surah Al-An'am, He tells us, أُولَٰئِكَ الَّذِينَ هَدَى اللَّهُ فَبِهُدَاهُ مُقْتَدِهِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, after mentioning the example of the prophets before us, He says, those are the people whom Allah has guided. So through their guidance, you follow. The purpose of the stories of the prophets and the righteous before us is not just so that we have something to relate to our children to be entertained. It's not a form of entertainment, rather, it's how we learn to be as Muslims ourselves. It's where we learn to emulate prophetic character. When we read the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, we learn not only how to be a righteous son despite the challenges he had with his father who kicked him out and threatened to kill him, but we also learn how to be the best father. Ibrahim alayhi salam was the best father to his children, Ismail and Ishaq. For those who are wondering how to escape generational trauma, look no further than Ibrahim alayhi salam, who was clearly traumatized by his father, but did not carry that to his own children. For a person looking for an example on how to be a good spouse, even when there are challenges, you see the example of Lut alayhi salam. His wife did not believe in him. He never fell short in his responsibilities. His wife ended up getting punished along with his people. Nuh alayhi salam had a son who did not believe in him, and his son was also swept away in the punishment of the flood. Musa alayhi salam faced challenges that each and every one of us can try to find a relation with. Many of us may face challenges in our lives. And the purpose of Allah giving us all of these examples is so that we can learn how to be like them. For every person, there is an example that you can find in a past prophet. Muhammad ﷺ had no parents. Ibrahim ﷺ had an abusive father. And Yusuf ﷺ had a loving father. The goal is that when I go about my life and I'm walking around and I'm faced with a challenge, I can immediately, in that moment, imagine what a past prophet would have done in that moment. And unless and until I connect myself to the Quran and the stories in the Quran, I will be unable to emulate their behavior. So if you want to emulate their behavior, connect with their stories in the Quran. Read and reflect on their stories from the Quran.